The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Um, I think we're live. Mike, let's give it a couple of minutes here to let the attendees come in. Thanks for joining.
Absolutely. Great to be with you.
How's your day going?
So far, so good. Just a little rainy here on the East Coast. How about you?
Great. It was raining yesterday, and now it's a beautiful day out. So can't complain.
Send that weather my way tomorrow, will you?
Yeah, it's coming. No, I'm excited. I'm excited to chat about this topic today. This will be fun.
Yeah, likewise. You guys are doing some great things, and I'm excited for you, and I know vice versa.
Yeah. We'll give it a couple more minutes here. So I guess maybe like why we wait. I think for the audience, should do you want to tell the story of how we got together?
Sure. So Carson and I met probably a little more than a year ago. I said the name of his company wrong. He nicely corrected me and said to me,
FanFood.
Mike, this is what we do. And I said, you know what? Even a year ago, when we were not in a global pandemic, I thought that it was extremely cool, and you guys were onto something. And I love the model that you've continued to build, and what you guys are doing now in the pandemic, and have made several pivots is pretty interesting at this time. And so a year ago here, I'm learning about your business. I've kind of watched it grow and watched it evolve over time. And we were fortunate enough to have some of the same investment people behind us, and kind of working through strategic partnerships. And sure enough, here we are, 3-4 months into a relationship. So I'm excited to join you today and talk shop.
Yeah, no, this will be fun. And so I think with that, let's get started. So thank you, everybody, for taking the time to step in and learn a little bit more about owning the digital customer journey to support social distancing. I'll be like the co-host along with Mike, but I am the CEO, founder of FanFood. Started FanFood 6 years ago at the University of Iowa, where I attended college, complaining about a crappy bar experience, and pivoted to sports because I felt as a fan, there's nothing more frustrating than waiting 20 minutes in line for a hot dog and beer. 6 years later, here we are today talking about social distancing, and along I got one of the best in the industry to help chat about it, CEO, co-founder of Mike with CSMG. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so I appreciate the kind words and being with you today. Before I tell you what I do, so a bad bar experience in Iowa. We got to move you to New York and get you on that train, huh?
Yeah, no, I'm looking for an excuse. I don't know if I'm trying to go up there right now, but after things settle down, then I'll absolutely.
I hear you. Well, when things are open in New York, the bar experience is fun. But nonetheless, happy to be here with you today. So Michael Schreck, CEO, co-founder, Collegiate Sports Management Group. I personally have been in the marketing and media business in sports for 15 plus years. I spent some time with the New York Mets in their media and sales divisions. I then ran 9 years. I spent running Westwood One Sports Group, where we worked with the National Football League, the Masters, the Olympics, the NHL, the NBA, all your big properties. And about 5.5 years ago, I founded Collegiate Sports Management Group, and we are a full-service college sports properties group that helps schools and conferences generate revenue and find strategic partnerships and ways to do that. And then I was fortunate enough to be nominated and win an award called the Power Players, which are the top 50 most powerful executives in collegiate sports by Sports Business Journal. So thanks for having me today, and I'm glad to be with you.
Yeah, awesome. Excited to kick it off here. So here's a quick overview of the agenda. So real quick, Mike, we'll have a quick discussion about kind of how COVID has impacted collegiate athletics and what's that mean. And then really diving into the weeds of it today. We want to talk about the digital journey, especially in this new world that we're living in, and event planning is coming just right around the corner, and taking it a little bit deeper pre, during, and post event, and what are some of the implications from that. And then we'll wrap this live webinar up with some Q&A.
Sounds perfect. So yeah. Go ahead. So as I sit and I look at what's going on around us, right, and we're all faced with challenging times, and some of the things that my staff and I are going through on a day-to-day basis are contingency plans in and around college athletics, right? And we're constantly in conversations with conference commissioners, athletic directors, procurement people, talking about what attendance is going to look like if sports comes back, or ranging from, the big boys in the Power Five, all the way down to junior college. Are people going to show up to events, or is the media streaming and television rights, going to become more powerful? What is consumer behavior going to look like? Are people going to want to engage on mobile devices and, engage in the game that way? So those are the things that we're discussing right now, and those are some of the challenges that we're kind of figuring out how we navigate.
Right. And based on from all the conversations that you're having, is there a overarching, theme or a bucket? How are, people thinking about some of these different topics here that we're going to dive into later?
Yeah, sure. So it depends on the level and it depends on the sport. So, the football conversation at University of Michigan or Ohio State is much different than the field hockey conversation at a junior college. And so it's all about, what are they going to do to kind of navigate the social distance? What are they going to do to kind of navigate fans being there? What are they going to do from a tailgating perspective before the game, during the event, after the event, which I know a lot of will be topical today. And so, Carson, every conversation we're having is different because every AD and every president of every institution has a different philosophy. And a lot of what we're seeing in college is going to be predicated on what the professional leagues and teams really decide to ultimately do. And we're starting to see the NBA is going to open up a little bit. But we're in kind of a holding pattern. And hopefully we'll know by the end of the month, or at the very latest, mid-July, as to what the institutions and universities are going to do.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that it's been mostly optimistic about how attendance and stuff is going to look like across, different leagues and conferences?
I would say that people are optimistic. I will tell you that people are making travel contingency plans. Right. So if you are running a conference and you have, let's say that 10 institutions cross into 5 or 6 different states in one particular conference, and one of those states has seen a lot more cases of the virus than other states, well, they have to be careful about, travel restrictions and how you quarantine players before and after competition. So I'll tell you that people are optimistic. But I'll tell you that there's so many contingency plans and so many conversations going on that I'm really not sure where this is going to net itself out.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting. Okay. And that kind of is a good segue into, because like, while we're, you can only do so much planning, and, at us at FanFood, we're sending a lot of surveys out, because over the last 6 years, we've captured a lot of data about sports fans from different kinds of sports fans across high school sports, minor league, collegiate, professional. And so we wanted to get kind of their opinions on how their outlook, right? And I think this month's survey will probably be a little bit different than next month's survey. The first survey that we did found, there was a small percent, there was like 20% said that they were going to go back, that they to events and stuff. Well, as we sent out the next survey, we're finding, 80+% are either likely or very likely to attend. And I got to say, like, I'm calling in from Iowa right now, and this past weekend, everything started to open up. And one of the, I know the restaurant owner in the local town, they had top sales, record-breaking sales of the year. And I was like, well, that was interesting. I didn't expect it to be like that high, but I think like that, coupled with this, it's kind of interesting to kind of think about. What are your thoughts about some of these findings?
Yeah, being here in New York, right, things are opening up a lot slower than it seems like in some of the other parts of the country. Monitoring and reading articles as it relates to when states have opened up, or cities have opened up, what that's doing to the virus numbers. It seems that it increases initially and then kind of dips off a little bit and comes back to reality. So I think from a college athletics standpoint, it's really more of that wait and see, and are the athletes going to be comfortable coming back and playing, and ultimately, what does that mean for the fans? But I think that,
right,
as you do all your research and everything that you guys are accomplishing, with being contactless, if you will, I really think that you guys are set up nicely.
Yeah, no, ironically, it's what we've been doing for the last 6 years.
Yeah.
But, I think it's also important to think about how that's changed. Like pre-COVID, like I said, we started FanFood because we wanted to make fans skip lines altogether. And we felt like the most efficient way to do that was by leveraging technology. Back then, connectivity was, a primary issue, and technology has only gotten, stronger, better, faster, cheaper. And, now we're at like today, where post-COVID, this kind of the second survey kind of validates this, or the question kind of validates this. The new customer experience has changed. And, I think how are, kind of athletic directors, conference leagues, how are they thinking about this new fan experience, and and how social distancing will impact that? Because I do think that's important, right? No one's going to argue that fans aren't willing to come back to events at this point. People are excited. I think the league seems optimistic, but like, do you feel that social distancing is here to stay? Or is it just kind of a fad that'll go away, and then in a couple of years' time, everything will be back? What do you think?
Yeah, I think people are definitely going to be more cautious when they're at types of events, whether that be concerts or sporting events. I think depending on what age demographic you're in, you're going to be more mindful as to what's going on. You're certainly probably going to use the, Purell or some of the other products that are, cleansing in those venues more often. And I think, it's going to really be case by case. I think that's everything that we're seeing and hearing out there.
Have you seen this picture?
It's a great shot. The Spanish
flu. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
History repeats itself. I think there's a testament to, what events will start to look like when they return. This was right after a pandemic in 1918.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, no. So the other thing I think, let's see what happens with a vaccine. Let's see, right? Let's see what starts to happen in other countries. And, once there's a vaccine in place, does Ohio State football ever get back to 100,000 plus fans? on any given Saturday? I don't know. I don't know. Do they get to 50? Yeah, probably. And somewhere in between the 100 and 50? Yeah. But I don't know that they get back to those types of numbers. And then it's based on percentages as you kind of go down, the food chain is if, a local school is getting 2,500 people, does that school still get 2,500 people or do they get 500 people?
Right. Right. And I think that, because of, technology has been, how with pre-COVID, it was, how are we leveraging technology to create a better fan experience? And I think there was a trend of, really exciting innovation that was going on in sports. But I think that, with COVID, it's only accelerated or kind of put the highlight or spotlight on some of those technologies. And this, I think, is a good segue into, and as I think about it, and, when you go think about how history repeats itself and stuff like that, this will just see, for the ownership groups and for food service, and how can we leverage technology to, again, support this new fan experience, but now when you're looping in, safety into it, things can get exciting. So
Sure.
anyway.
And tell me a little bit about, I know, right, you have the vision to start the company really based on concession. You're now adapting to, parking becoming contactless, right? You're now adapting to other areas of the business where you can be that technology provider, for a pro team, a college. Educate me a little bit more on some of the things you guys are doing.
Yeah. And it kind of started when, our business was also affected by COVID, because we were an event marketplace. We connected fans and guests with concession stands, and we wanted to provide the, best food experience by skipping lines. And then when COVID hit, there were other businesses that were impacted, and the only way to stay alive was by enabling contactless services. So for restaurants, that means curbside pickup. And when we pivoted to the hospitality space, we signed a deal with the mall. There's over 200 stores within that mall, and they had an app. They cared about their branding and that digitizing that entire experience, because over the last decade, malls have been kind of, should I say, like dying because of the rise of commerce. The internet boom that happened late 90s, early 2000s, which was also when SARS pandemic kind of happened, virus, right? Interesting, very similar. But so we signed a partnership with Dubai Mall, largest mall in the world, and we offered those. We connected our technology into that app, the Dubai Mall app, to offer curbside pickup and delivery to residents in the area, because of what we've been doing with sports stadiums, and the technology that we created with that. And when we had the pre-order capabilities for an event, we built these stores. So it's, the question was, well, can we offer like merchandise? And it's like, yeah, we built it. There's just another separate category. And then they were like, well, can we offer tickets, and can we offer, parking spot to reserve a time? And we're like, yeah, why not? And then the mall, one of their objectives was, how can we encourage people to come back to these events, right? To encourage them to feel safe. And it's like, can this technology enable them to reserve some time? We're like, yeah, sure. Like, because we've already had this built out, just a different way of looking at it. And so that's why I'm really excited, because, the technology is now enabling us to test new use cases. And it's enabling and helping, our partners really drive value and offset revenue, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I appreciate you having me here today, because I'm one, little sector in your world here, of college athletics. I mean, you're doing great deals with hotels and malls and all these other, places that need you guys. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think this really validated a horizontal marketplace kind of opportunity, but the college, the collegiate athletics will always be close to home, close to the heart. I'll always remember that. No, I'm kidding. But no, I'm excited. So let's get into the next the next kind of key. We'll talk about kind of some of the considerations during the customer journey pre-event. What does pre-ordering stuff ahead of time look like? What are some stuff to consider? With our technology specifically, we have the ability to enable that pre-order service from various concession stands or stores. And so this is an example of that. And right now, we're also, during the event, you have the ability to order from. So this is just the pre-order that goes direct to the store at the venue. But it's also a storefront. It's each location storefront. So touchless menus are a big piece that's coming. And so having the ability to pre-order on a desktop through a web app is no different than a fan scanning a QR code and having their own menu come up because it's tied to each store. So and then so yeah.
So how do you guys approach, let's say pre-event, right? You have this technology, you have this platform. We know the world we live in right now is all about social media and engagement. They don't really have much of an attention span. Everything they want, they want reaction like that. What's the approach when you do like promotional giveaways, you're promoting tickets, you're promoting your technology? How do you think about that kind of pre-event? Because I think that's what a lot of the athletic directors and commissioners are going to start to think about.
Yeah, and it's what does the branding and the positioning and the messaging look like? I think it's acknowledging and sharing with the fans some of the efforts that you are doing to support social distancing. Don't hide it, but recognize it and be transparent and show express some of that excitement. What are some of your partners at CSMG kind of doing, and how are they planning for it?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? So everybody's figuring out what does the messaging look like, to get fans to a game, multiple games a week, separate venues. Are there any discount pushes that they're making, promotional features or enhancements with brands that they might be doing? Are you doing a product giveaway? Are you doing things where you can kind of go behind the scenes a little bit? What does this all look like to drive people back to engage, on site? And then all while making sure that they do social distance and, are adapting to what we'll deem as the new normal. That's what everybody's trying to figure out right now.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, a lot when we pivoted our technology to hospitality, that's kind of the only benchmark we have in this new world, because big events haven't started up again. But we're in drive-in, movie theaters all across the country. And they're, some of the things that they're doing right now, they're partnering up. They're leveraging our technology to sell, digital advertisements in and do some co-branding stuff, because, they look at it as how can, FanFood as a revenue stream. And so they're really taking ownership and creating these new revenue streams to help offset lost revenue. And then they're using that to kind of incentivize customers to come in. Another complex is using us to do tickets and even reserve parking spots. I think it's really doubled down on the support, like making them feel safe during it. So if there is any like regulations and guidelines, they are being very transparent about that and communicating that. I think that's been a highlight. And then, like I said, one of the technology, that we're doing for a mall is reserving some time, like to come back, but they're capping the attendance per store within the mall. So when you're reserving your time between 12:30 and 1, right, the customer feels that they will be like more secure and that they're maintaining that social distancing guideline. So anything that's helping and making them feel safe and giving them that peace of mind, I think has been a primary message that we've seen with those customers on the hospitality side.
Gotcha, yeah. And some of our clients that you know and are familiar with are asking, is there a one-stop shopping solution, of a tech partner that's out there that can help them with, parking, concession, ticketing, and anything else that they're focused on that, post-COVID that will help them, whether it be drive revenue, save revenue, offset revenue. I mean, that's what people are starting to ask, and they're starting to figure that out. So a lot of contingency plans in the works as it relates to what this whole thing looks like.
Mm-hmm. And so as we're kind of transitioning during the event, I think there's the few talking points that we'll highlight are obviously the contactless services, digital advertising. So given that, we would all love to assume max 100% attendance, but, if there is, that decrease or that expectation to decrease attendance, from what does that mean from a sponsorship perspective, and does that, and what are the considerations for digital advertising in other ways?
Yeah, so there's a lot of cool fan engagement probably pitched by, I don't know, a dozen or so of them, and they all want to get in partnerships with our schools and our conferences, and they keep coming to us with all these great creative ideas. And I think fan engagement is going to be a really crucial, important part of it, going forward. How do you create contests, mobily that you can engage the fans in? There's a company out there called Kiss We Mobile. For those of you that are not familiar with it, it's basically like community involvement during, I should say before, during, and after an event that's out there that's looking at partnerships that we've created. We're doing some broadcasts in other languages based on student population. So we're really trying to engage the fan, and I think that's going to be the new norm, right? Even if we weren't going through a pandemic and in the virus, the way this generation is now, with the way they consume content, snackable content, 2, 4, 6-second clips, right? That's the type of messaging that they're all accustomed to now. Even I have a 6-year-old. He has the attention span of a gnat, and he's always asking me, what's next, what's next, what's next? And I'm like, this is unbelievable. But that's the world we're in now.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And to me, as I think about that, like, what are those implications during the event? And, are we expecting the, fans to be on their cell phones more often? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, I mean, I think so.
Are fans not going to care?
I don't know that they don't care. Yeah, look, Carson, you have, let's break it down into percentages, right? And I'm going to use round numbers here. Is that 50% of the people that are going to an event are your hardcore, avid, I'm going to go to that event no matter what. 25% are there with that significant other or that friend that kind of gets dragged along. And the other 25% is just happy to be out and getting some entertainment. And, they're going to be engaged on their phone or looking at the crowd more than they care about the score anyway. So again, what are we doing, right, as entrepreneurs? And you're in the tech sector and we're in the monetization business, right? What are we doing as entrepreneurs to keep the fans engaged and make sure that we're driving value for everybody that's there from any type of engagement standpoint or brand association standpoint?
Definitely. Good segue into that next piece, because when we started FanFood, the first key message, right, the first why, like, why did I do it? Because no one likes to wait 20 minutes in line, right, for concession. So it's like, how do we make that process as frictionless as possible? So we started with the iOS and the Android app, and the industry was like, well, fans don't want to download an app one time and just use it. So we rolled out the web app, which mirrored the same UI and UX, similar experience to, expedite that entire ordering process. So we mapped each individual store with a storefront and a menu. So now that means highly customer segmented offerings, right? So it's like we can now offer the, season ticket holders one type of menu offering, and the general admission fans a different kind. And I think that there's now opportunities to test and validate that when things start to do come back. And that's what I'm really excited about. And every different stand can offer, a different service, be it if you're doing express pickup or you're doing in-seat delivery out of it. And I think that's kind of exciting to me, because now you're really controlling the ingress and degress of that fan traffic flow. And I can tell you another one of our minor league partners are using our technology as virtual lines, essentially. So your fan is able to sit in their seat and order from line A, B, C, D from a concession stand, and get notified when their order is ready for pickup to kind of expedite that process.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. And, I think from I think this is something that you'd be, kind of interested in talking. How, from your experience pre-COVID, how has kind of the importance of digital sponsorships, shifted over the last 5 years, would you say?
It's definitely shifted, and more companies are spending more on digital and mobile marketing, than they probably ever have before. In the sports sector, you still obviously have your linear television and your national television broadcasts that are driving ratings, but brands that are really trying to get that integrated solution and be embedded with the consumer are focused more on the digital and mobile marketing. And so when you create assets like this with user engagement, you can pop in a pre-roll, a mid-roll, a post-roll, you can have a banner ad run across the screen. Those are all things that are really important, to the brand. But ultimately what it comes down to is, what are the brand's goals and objectives? What are they trying to accomplish? Who are they trying to reach? Do they have some type of exclusivity? Those are all the things that are extremely important as brands look to spend money. And now, in the world we're in now, brands are certainly tightening those belts and tightening those wallets and figuring out where are they going to spend, more of that money. And I think we're going to start to see more on the streaming and more on the mobile side.
Definitely. And it's because of the Facebooks and the Facebook advertisements. They get so smart because so many, they spend so much money. And I know for every dollar that I spend in, my return on ad spend, I get 5 out. And it's like, it makes it very funnel conversion driven. And, it was kind of fun because last season at one of our partners, Durham Bulls, we did we partnered with Mars Wrigley on a test to test these three KPIs below. They were interested to see if we could get non-candy buyers to purchase more candy. They're also interested to see, could we influence the timing of those purchases through push notifications? But ultimately, what were the conversions like during that process? And it was interesting because during the end of those 25 events, we found that we doubled the candy sales through the app, but also, the interesting thing to me was that we can influence the timing of the purchases through push notifications, and that, the digital display really does matter because we saw, positive conversion rates on it. So pretty interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you get brands, take it a step further, right? Is that, let's say you can integrate brands that are already in the venue. And so if you pop up, let's say that it's a Coca-Cola pour, and you can populate, Coca-Cola ads that then all of a sudden comes up on their phone and triggers them to go get a Coca-Cola or go get a pretzel or go get, a Sabrett's hot dog or something. Now that's integrated, powerful messaging. And so your
Right.
technology and your platform is certainly at the forefront of those conversations when a brand says, what does the integration message look like?
Right. Right. And for us, like, when we started FanFood 6 years ago, this piece was always a critical piece because we made the decision, not to go and compete and be another marketplace like Grubhub and Uber Eats and Postmates. We wanted to be different, right? We went into sports and entertainment to solve a different problem, and we learned quickly that the sponsorship component is a critical piece of the equation. And how do we create meaningful engagements with those partners to really add value in the long run? And now it's kind of magnifying that opportunity to really to highlight that value add. Okay, let's go on to the next slide here. Yeah, Mike, are these some of the like what are some of the sponsors, partners? What are they looking for? Are they asking for specific types of things or opportunities? How have been some of the athletic departments engaging with during this time too, and what does that mean for this kind of segment?
Sure. So what I've seen most of the brands asking for, are mobile interactive games, the ability for fans to maybe vote on something, right? Play of the game, play of the week, player of the month, academic All-American, stuff like that. And then any type of contest, right? Whenever there's prizing involved or there's a call to action message that the consumer wants to partake in, those are the things that are getting the brands excited about, because then they know that they're capturing that audience and potentially capturing that data depending on who the partner is. So push notifications. I've been asked a lot lately from CMOs about branded content opportunities and co-streaming ability. And what I mean by that is, can you take the content that's living on the device during a game and have it live on the brand's website and have them do things like that to drive traffic, whether it be a retail store or QSR or something like that, quick serve restaurant. So those are the things that I've seen people starting to ask questions on. At the pro level, maybe a little bit more intimate with player involvement. In college athletics, you obviously can't do that. Although I will tell you, and I don't know how familiar you are with this, but name, image, and likeness is coming up where probably about a year from now, from everything I'm learning and reading, it sounds like name, image, and likeness is going to be a part of what's going to happen in the NCAA, right? So what's going to happen when the quarterback from Alabama that can now all of a sudden, right, take that endorsement, but he can't do it through the school, he can do it through his own name. What does that look like from a technology standpoint? And what does his social following look like to promote something like this? So name, image, and likeness is going to be something that, again, you and I are both going to stay on top of. But when you talk about interaction, there's a world out there.
It's interesting too, and we were thinking about this lately as an idea, but it might be an accidental benefit. Over the last couple of years, right, the fan preference and what they're eating and consuming inside sports stadiums have been changing, right? They've been looking for, they don't want just that hot dog anymore or that traditional, those peanuts. And they're like, we want something unique. And like right now, we pivoted into the hospitality space with our business model, the way we built our business model, because we believed in not charging high commissions to the operators and to really validate that we can maximize revenue. That was one of the key value propositions that we did. We started onboarding local mom and pop restaurants, right, to help them during COVID. And I think, could this now become a way for fans to order food options, right, ahead of time from local restaurants and stuff during game day? It'd be kind of fun and exciting to test that, because if you're saying naming rights, what does the exclusive barbecue naming right in the app look like for the season to allow fans to order from that ahead of time to help the local business make more money? And what does that mean from a potential sponsorship perspective? So I'm really excited to see like how we can leverage our technology, kind of to think outside the box and help, with that entire journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think
Yeah.
what you guys have done getting yourselves into the hospitality business, I was reading last week, congratulations, you signed a hotel down in Florida.
Thank you.
I know you're probably rolling out more of those, but look, when I look at your business and I say, okay, he's doing all these great things in other areas outside of sports, and we're obviously helping you in the college landscape. But I think that the opportunities are endless for us. Honestly, when I look at the technology and then I look at the monetization arm to this technology, there's a lot for us to do together.
Definitely. And I think like understanding and for the brands and the teams to own and control their own data from that pre, during, post, it will be a fundamental, like a foundational thing right now, because there will be a shift, a trend, an accelerated one to cashless. So it does become an opportunity now to start to think about what those implications look like long term.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah. And then I think too, like the last piece, we pre-COVID, it was all about how do we provide a better fan experience? How can we leverage technology to provide a better fan experience during this? And it's the follow-up question was always like, how is it being measured? What does a successful fan experience look like? And it's oftentimes it was, we survey them after. And so like, how do you do that? And so how do we think about what the after event looks like? How are we taking the data that has been captured during the event? How are we making certain decisions from that to, go from there? What do you think?
Yeah, well, we're definitely in the data and analytics world. And I teach, I mentioned earlier, at the grad level. And one of the things I kept telling my students this last semester was data and analytics is going to be a significant part of any business going forward. And so how are you set up to capture that data? How are you set up to drive the message so that way when your ex-consumer leaves any type of event and they've used your technology and your platform, what are you doing to stay engaged with them? And these are the things that, partners like us should be helping you think through, whether it be just in our one sector or across the whole business. But those are the things that we need to make sure we're doing a good job of, right? Is that it's great to have somebody engaged for 2, 3, 4 hours, but what the hell are we doing for the next, 16 hours to stay on their radar before they go to sleep?
Yeah, and it's been so important to us. It's great that we're capturing data, but so what, right? When we built the business on like a marketplace that connects fans of all kinds, from high schools, minor leagues, colleges, pro, and now hospitality and local businesses, it's capturing all this data, but so what? And so now because of COVID and because of this pivot, it really validated a kind of a core segment of us at FanFood. And we literally invest in a team that is dedicated to understanding this data to help our customers better understand this data and what does that mean? Because I do think it's so critically important, and in the long run to, for the brands, the teams to own that data, and, that's the starting point, but where you take it after is the most important. And I think that's why we've aligned our business to the outcomes of this, because I think it's the most important thing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, right? Is that how are you capturing that? And then what story are you telling, as you continue to roll out the platform to other partners?
Yeah, and candidly too, it is sometimes, you're not always going to get the best outcome, right? Because with the data, everything is measured, everything becomes clear. And so for us, it was, we might not get it right on the first time, or the data might not be, where you expect it to be, and having that transparency, but having the data is better than having no data. And then you optimizing that process along the way is a key piece to like how we, want to build our partnerships in the long run, and being able to use the data to support that. Has your like partners and stuff, have they requested, or how are they starting to think about what some of the implications could mean?
Yeah, they're all requesting, different ways to collect data, absolutely. Some of them are doing it through other third parties that, have been in place at their institutions for a while, or some of them are still trying to figure it out. And then candidly, some of our partners, have just started charging for tickets or administering tickets now. Some are a little bit, outdated. And so they're upgrading some of their facilities right now. So it runs the gamut for sure. But I'll tell you that every conversation we're having, data comes up in that conversation one way or the other.
And is that like, is that part of like the new package, the new experience of, is there an expectation to use the data in any certain way? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, it's definitely case by case, depending on what level you're at, what conference you're participating in, what the goals of the school's athletic department are, or the school overall. But they definitely want to be able to figure out a way to capture the data, utilize the data again to sell more tickets or host more alumni events, engage with their alumni better. But I'll tell you, everybody is talking about data and analytics.
Yeah, definitely. And that was, this screenshot here, this venue dashboard. This is a real-time data and analytics dashboard during an event that, you can track all of the different details of a transaction, of where customers are, where they're purchasing it, and everything, even the time and average fulfillment times, every step of the way is being tracked and managed, so that, after, as a general manager or an F&B director or whoever's overseeing the different concession stores can see, how did we perform? How did certain people like perform in the fulfillment and stuff? So really gives an opportunity to really streamline some of those operations and optimize the process after the event as well.
Yeah, so you talk about push notifications, right? Questionnaires, surveys, ticket promotions to future events, highlight clips to keep them engaged, right? All powered by your technology. So those are the things that, again, what are we doing when they leave that venue and they leave that stadium and they've had a fantastic experience? What are we doing to continue to stay engaged with them? And those are some of just the high level things that I've heard clients ask, and I've seen some fan engagement platforms kind of bring to the forefront.
Yeah, definitely. And for us too, it's an opportunity to really get their feedback, because I think that's going to be an important thing right now. You can only plan so much. I did 8 years in the military, and they say your plan never survives first contact. And so I feel like, because there is, we're all trying to share best practices, but at the end of the day, no one knows, can say for certainty what that experience is going to be like. And I think it's important to be prepared to get that feedback from fans after that first event and quickly optimize the process, because I think that's what's going to matter the most, right? The people that are going to be there, and how do we keep them engaged to come back time and time again? Because you might not get it right the first time, but I think having those contingency plans in place and getting their feedback to ask, it will be an important piece too, consideration.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we're coming up to about 10 minutes left. And so we talked about the digital customer journey today, speaking from the fan perspective, what does that look like from a pre-ordering experience? How are we communicating with those fans digitally, getting them excited about coming back to events when they do return? And then talking about how we're controlling and giving them peace of mind during that event. And what are some of the new implications and considerations from a digital advertising perspective when you have that level of engagement in a new kind of cashless and contactless world that we live in, transitioning to understanding what we can do with that data post-event, looking at it, optimizing the process so that, come ideally this year, we're not going to get a full season, but if we get a full season, we're prepared. We're going into the next with an optimized way to, provide the best fan experience, which I think is why everybody's here and listening today. So, yeah. And so again, I'm Carson Goodale. I'm the CEO, co-founder of FanFood, and we created an online mobile ordering platform that allows fans to order ahead before an event, and then during the event they can order from their seat and get notified when their orders are ready for pickup. And they can even order concessions directly to their seat, merchandise. And we're integrated with over 25 different point of sale systems and can offer out of the box kiosks, point of sale, KDS to provide a fully cashless environment in any location or area, like a premium suite. And over the last 6 years, we have over 150 different partners serving hundreds of thousands of fans in the United States, and kind of excited to thank you, Mike, again for taking the time. And real quick, do you want to let the audience know what you do and how we can reach you?
Sure. And love what you guys have built here. And what we do, I stated earlier, is we're a college properties group that helps conferences, colleges, awards, and anybody that's focused in the space really grow their revenue and help them be a resource with different initiatives. We cover the esports sector. We do a lot in the marketing rights, licensing, ticketing, sponsorship sales, event management, media business. And Carson, I'm thrilled to be partners with you. You guys have built a great technology. We're certainly engaged with a lot of our schools and conferences on ways that we can help them grow. We can help them, get out of the COVID era right now and thrive, with being contactless and cashless, etc. And these are just some of the partners that we have. So appreciate the conversation today.
Yeah, and I think if there's any last minute questions, we'll open it up to some Q&A from the attendees. Oof. Mike, that's you. How do I price mobile sponsorship placements?
Sure. Well, we go back to what I said on data, right? So we have to get some data as to where exactly it's going to be placed, what kind of metrics the brand is going to be looking for, and more importantly, who's going to be essentially buying it. But that's the way that we have to price it, right? It's KPIs. It could be CPM based. It could be cost per point based. But it's all about what the rotation is and where exactly that placement's going to be before you start thinking about price. Right.
I think too, what another thing to kind of consider when you're thinking about mobile sponsorship placements, the engagement from the fan and the premium on that during the event. I think it becomes somewhat of a hybrid model, knowing that there is a value to being inside that event. And so to getting those eyeballs to look at, and engage with certain products or services in real time, for sure. But the ability to then measure that, be it through, if you're using a promo code to engage with those local sponsors, or you're leveraging push notifications, or you're measuring conversions from a product sale perspective. But ultimately, you're supporting your mobile sponsorship with digital advertisements across the board. So I think that's something that is, should be also considered, is when you're doing a mobile sponsorship, it shouldn't be just siloed, right? You should be trying to think about it from a pre, during, post perspective, and how we can layer that and engage with other sponsors or the internal brand of the departments.
Yeah, the other thing I would add to that is, it's a great question from whoever asked it, and I would tell you that we at CSMG have a valuation and data and analytics team, and so that's certainly a question where the individual that asked it could get in touch with us, and my valuation group can probably walk you through what that model looks like to better help you understand how you're thinking about that. So certainly an opportunity there. If I believe the contact information is on the presentation, but if not, we can certainly get it to you.
Mm-hmm. Next question. How do I know students and fans will embrace our in-venue digital platform, especially throughout the season? Well, I think after that first event, we asked them, right? Anyone that did get the opportunity to engage with the in-venue digital platform, get their feedback. I think that's the best way to do it. Things to consider ahead of time, you want to stress test technology. You want to be getting that kind of perspective ahead of time to give yourselves the peace of mind to know that, if you do have concerns, right? I think technology has grown at such a fast pace. If it's a good, seamless user experience by the apps and technologies you use every day. And I think it's ensuring that it meets the highest quality of that user experience. Mike, do you have any other comments for this question?
No, I think you handled it perfectly. So I'm gonna let it be at that, and we'll go to the next question if there is one. Any ideas on what compensation to a college athlete would be for sponsorship? So that is touching on the name, image, and likeness, question. Once that opens up, I can just sit here and answer it today and say I have no idea. A lot of people way smarter than me are working on those things right now, and our company is involved in conversations, but we're far from knowing what the compensation is going to be. We're far from knowing exactly how the college will or will not be involved. Everything I'm hearing is that the college will not be involved. We're far from our agents going to be allowed to be involved to drive those up. So there's a lot of unknown still, but there's also a lot of context being thrown around about name, image, and likeness. And that's something I would say stay close on if you're interested in it, because in the next 6 to 8 months, we're going to start to learn a lot more. One of the things we're doing as a company is that we actually started our own over-the-top television network. And some of the students, when they're allowed to push content to that network, when this opens up, we're going to give them a platform to be able to do that. And then we may be able to open up some sponsorship opportunities on that network. But I would say stay tuned for that.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know, my own two cents as a millennial, you think about LeBron James is the second highest, I believe, athlete from a fan base perspective digitally, taking a look at the total following he has. The number one, I believe it was Ninja, and it was 10 times higher than LeBron James, and it was because of his digital presence. And I think that's kind of an interesting thing, because high school sports and leveraging social media and technology, that it's completely changing the way people think and engage with content at an early age. And as that continues to come upstream in the education from it, I wouldn't be surprised if that becomes kind of a higher expectation from athletes. Next question. Last question.
Last question. All right.
My school's older fans are also some of my more affluent people in the stadium. If they are not tech savvy enough to download an app, is there another way they can order on mobile or at home before the game? So yes, I think that, is also an assumption about like downloading an app. I think it's all about what the service that is being provided more so than the way of getting it. We have, for example, an online storefront, a web app that every school, every location would have to pre-order concessions from, that could be hyperlinked in the athletics website, for example. So I think it's more important to understand where this, it doesn't, even if it's affluent or not, tech savvy or not, how are they consuming and understanding the kind of digital customer journey? Because especially in this new world that we live in, cashless and contactless is more, will be prioritized over this tech savvy. And our data actually, and which I felt was kind of interesting, is a higher audience group. It's actually more common that the 35 plus is ordering from FanFood than a millennial that we've seen in some of our events, which is kind of interesting. And I think it's a testament to that enhanced level of experience that we're providing by skipping lines through this technology. And probably something that, I don't know, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but like affluent people were, willing to pay for. Who knows? But so here we'll send this presentation out after this call, but we'll share some helpful resources. Our content team put together a really helpful COVID-19 readiness guide, some things to consider, and ideas that we've shared across from other venues that we've been talking with across the country. So I hope that you guys can get some value out of it, and some other helpful resources as well. And I think the last slide you have, we have some contact information. Anyway. Cool. So that's all we have. And Mike, thank you. Thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely, buddy. Always great to speak with you and be with you. Much success ahead for you, my friend, and I'm sure we'll be in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Look forward to chatting.
Take care, bud.
And thank you everyone for taking the time to listen to this call today.